give your son or daughter the discernment to pick a good person to marry. So Satan, he uses deflection by sending people ahead of time. Because you remember in the Bible how some of Satan's demons knew the future, okay? So they knew what was going to happen in the future. That's where fortune telling and bad stuff comes from, right? See, God doesn't want us to know the future. But in deflection, Satan can send someone ahead of time to be at the right point, at the right time, to say something or do something to bug you, or to put you off task for God. So what you have to constantly do as you're navigating through life is remember, keep your navigation on Jesus and ignore anything that you determine has come from the enemy. So that's conquering deflection. Of course, distraction, everybody knows what distraction is. In military terms, it's enticement, entrancement, lust. Distraction can be an attack by a force on one or two flanks, leading up a strong frontal attack by remaining members of the opposing force. So Satan uses this daily in 1,000 ways. He uses it perhaps with money, career, all of our worldly lusts, movies, everything that and have you thought about them? For instance, have you thought about the Muslim people? Their whole religion is growing because they sit down. I think personally the reason why it's growing is they sit down and they worship God, or not our God, but Yahweh or Allah, 5 times a day. So they're very devoted. And I think Christians are looking for that devotion, but they're not taking the time to be devoted. They're getting distracted constantly in our culture. It's constant distraction. So we have to fight distraction, and we need to, personally, I think we need to stop 5-6 times a day and worship God. That's what heaven's going to be like. Why not worship God here just like in heaven? I'm going to skip through because I can't do all of these military terms. Let's do exploiting. In Luke 12, they talk about beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. In the meantime, when so many thousands of people had gathered together that they were trampling one another, he began to say to his disciples first, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. Nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. Therefore, whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light. Whatever you have whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops. Have no fear. I tell you, my friends, do not fear those who kill the body, and after that have nothing more that they can do. But I will warn you to whom to fear. Fear him who, after he has killed, has authority to cast into hell. Yet I tell you, fear him. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? And not one of them is forgotten before God. Why, even the hairs on your head are all numbered. Fear not, you are more valuable than sparrows. Okay, so exploiting, this is simply using whatever the environment or situation is lending to the situation as an asset. For example, in World War I, the opening March offensive of the Germans just so happened to be on a day that was foggy in the snowstorm, so they used the fog to their benefit. Okay, so my point with all of that, if I can remember correctly, another example is with Pearl Harbor. The Japanese used the storm clouds as camouflage and cover. Okay, so here's the thing. He's saying in here that everything that's done in the dark is in the light, and we already know that all the angels can read all of our minds. There's nothing hidden at all. So what we have to do, and what I personally believe you can do, is you can pray, and you can pray for God to hide things from Satan. You can pray for camouflage. You can pray to have private time between you and God that Satan's not allowed to hear. Okay, now Jesus used to go out far from the people to take time to pray. And part of the reason I think that he did that is because he could hear all the thoughts of all the people. And he wanted to have just private time with just him and God. And if he went out on a mountaintop somewhere, then he could get away from all those thoughts of all those people. And right there it said they were trampling one another to get to see him. So we have to remember that Satan uses exploiting against you because he knows everything that we think, and he knows how to get to you. So what you need to do is pray for camouflage, pray for private time between you and God. God will honor that. Here's the last one we're going to talk about today, guerrilla tactics. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. Resist him firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of sufferings are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout all the world. That's in 1 Peter 5:8-9. Guerrilla tactics. The enemy attacks, then retreats like a hit and run. For the purpose of our list, guerrilla tactics is when Satan attacks, then retreats, recoups, and comes again. Okay, in the book I go into a lot more depth, but I don't know if you realize this, but what Satan will do is he'll hit you, then he'll leave, and it's like he's at his little board in his boardroom, just like a war, thinking of how he can come back at you again, okay? And a lot of times, like say you've had an affair in the past, he knows he can get you with that. So 3 or 4 weeks after you got rid of that affair, what happens? Here comes this other person who he dangles in front of you who might seem interesting. He's going to keep hitting you and doing guerrilla tactics just like a war. So what you have to realize in life and in police work, when we know our enemy, we can do police work a lot better. We can fight Satan. There's no reason that you have to give in to Satan. And I guess that's all we're going to do today. I hope that you can get the God Goggles book. It's God Goggles Project at Amazon.com. There is a ton of questions in here. Helps you figure out your life story, your supernatural story, what God's doing in your life now, the tribulations that you're going through now, which I know everyone is fixing to start going through major tribulations if I'm going through major tribulations. And I want you to win, and I want you to be able to go to heaven. And the only other thing that I really want you to read today is Deuteronomy 13. Those are your verses for today to read. Deuteronomy 13. I love you. Have a great day, and I hope that this video helped you.